names are Deputy Inspector General of Police, Dr. Shehu, PSC. To talk about PRAWA, Prisoners Rehabilitation and Welfare Action, we have a very, very good rapport, good understanding, and good synergy between the police and PRAWA for many years. It is an institution that concerns primarily on respect of dignity and human rights, which the police are supposed to be part of it. And also capacity building to the police to enable them to perform effectively and efficiently in conjunction with the fundamental respect to the fundamental human rights as enshrined into the Nigerian Constitutions of 1999. It's very, very beneficial, and at the same time in building capacity and enabling the police officers to perform credibly when they go out to discharge their duties. The police is an organization that deals with all kinds of human beings. When they come across a police officer, they deserve to be respected by police in ensuring not only their security and safety, but also in respecting their dignity and human rights. So in a nutshell, the training and retraining we are getting from the PRAWA is to enable us have police that will function and discharge their duties in a most standard and acceptable manner by members of the public. At this juncture, I want to say kudos. Welcome to the Nigeria Police Force online training.
Welcome to Nigeria Police Force online training on human rights. In today's session, we will be dealing with Introduction to Human Rights. The course content in this course, we will be dealing with definitions of human rights, history of human rights, characteristics of human rights, and the rationale for human rights. What is the objective of this session? The aim of the session is to promote an understanding of the whole concept of human rights, including its definitions, characteristics, history, scope, and rationale. In fact, the essence of this session is to build the capacity of officers to effectively and efficiently deliver on their mandate. What is the definition of human rights? What is human rights? For us to understand the concept of human rights, we need to look at this concept from the point of view of human and rights. And what is the definition of human? Human is having human form or attributes susceptible to or representative of the frailties of human nature. But for the purpose of this lecture, we are going to look at human being, because what we are dealing with is human beings. And who is a human being? A human being is a man or woman or child of the species of Homo sapiens, distinguished from other animals by superior mental development, power of articulate speech, and upright stance. And this is important for us to note. The fact that we are higher than other animals The expectation is that in every activity of ours, in dealing with fellow human beings, we must show the fact and distinguish ourselves from animals, because showing our higher intelligence, showing that we are more articulate than other humans. Now, what is right? Without taking you too far, right in this context means entitlement. What is your entitlement? That entitlement that comes to a human being by virtue of the fact that he is human. So from the above definition, you can take it that human rights is that entitlement that a human being gets from the fact, the main fact that he is a human, is not given to him. You remember Fela's song that says, human rights is my property. No government gives you human rights. It's there with you. It's inherent in you. So human rights is derived from the inherent dignity and worth of the human person. Human rights are rights which belong to all people at all times, in all situations, and in all societies. So it means that whether you are in Zamfara, up north, or you are in Rivers, down south, your human rights remains your human rights. So human rights are the entitlements that accrue to one because he or she is a human being. Human rights are equally the rights or claims which every human being has or is entitled to enjoy. Human rights applies to every human being, whether man, woman, or child, no matter the skin color, status, or origin. And that is why you cannot wake up one morning to call a child illegitimate. He should not be entitled to what, this or that. Or you come up to say, this is a woman. She shouldn't be entitled to one thing or the other. As long as a person remains human, he is entitled to all human rights. Now, what our concern is the fact that human rights can be easily abused by the high and mighty. And I think this is part of the reason why we are having this discussion. What is it that can be done to ensure that these rights that we are talking about are protected, no matter who is involved? So to ensure the protection of the rights of everyone, we have international, regional, and national instruments on human rights. We have uploaded all this in the slides we have for you here in the PowerPoints. And we encourage everyone to go back to the slides, look at these instruments, study them closely so that you'll be well guided in the performance of your duties. Now, what is the history of human rights? Does it mean people keep talking about human rights as if it is a Western concept, as if it is just for the West? Human rights is a modern term, but it has its origin in humankind. It has always been there. In those days, when our fathers say, if you shed the blood of a kinsman, this and that will happen to you. That's the same thing we are saying today when we say somebody that commits murder, this should be the person's punishment. So let us take that away from our mind. Human rights has always been here with us. But as a modern concept, we can trace it to the 1930s, during the First and Second World Wars, during the period of the Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and the challenges of the gas chambers with Hitler and the rest of them. The world was confused. It was like human beings treating fellow human beings like animals, like lesser beings. And the world said, no, it cannot continue like this. States have already failed in the delivery of rights in the protection of the rights of their citizens, the world decided to come together in 1945 and had what we call the United Nations Charter. After signing on to the United Nations Charter in 1945, it was agreed that there should be a common document that would be a guide to all the nations, for the protection of human rights of the citizens. And this led to the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And what is the focus of that document? Is for recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family. And this should strike a note to every police officer, especially when you look at Article 1 of that same document. I encourage you to look at that. And what I want you to notice there is that it is clearly said that we should all deal with one another in the spirit of brotherhood. When you are about to think of torture, think of malicious arrest, think of malicious prosecution, not exercising your discretion judiciously and judicially, regarding somebody, a suspect, remember that Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights says we should deal with one another in respect, in dignity, and in the spirit of brotherhood. Now, coming to the characteristics of human rights, I think we have 5 enlisted here. One is, it is fundamental. Fundamental means that without human rights, life is meaningless. Deny somebody human rights, that person is as good as dead. Because one of the standards in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is that we all are entitled to life, right to life. Now, take away that right, the person is no longer in existence. So that makes it fundamental. It is universal. Universal in the sense that it's applicable to every human being, no matter the race, no matter the color, no matter the gender, no matter the status. So that means that leaving Nigeria to travel to China does not mean that you will leave your human rights behind here. If it is so, it would mean on arrival in China, anybody can behead you. So, human rights should be universal. Even when somebody is traveling from any other country into Nigeria, that person is equally entitled to all the human rights. Then human rights is inalienable. What does that mean? It simply means that nobody can take it away from you. What is inherent in you is inside of you. And since nobody deposited it there, nobody has the right to take it away. So don't ever subscribe to anybody telling you that he can abuse your rights. This is quite critical. Neither can you, as a police officer, take away the rights of the citizens. Now, human rights are indivisible. When you take from the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you look at Section 33, it talks about right to life. There are some derogations. You look at Section 34 that talks about right to dignity of human person, and which also prohibits torture, inhuman, cruel, and degradable treatment. Now, if you give somebody right to life and end up torturing the person, treating the person cruelly, it simply means that you are dividing the rights. Again, if you say I am entitled to human rights and you put me in a condition where I cannot access job, I cannot access food, I cannot access good health, I cannot access shelter, it's as good as you have not given me anything. That's why the recent discussion now is around making all those social and economic rights justiciable. We are entitled to that if there must be a balance. If human rights are indivisible, we must not share them into Chapter 2 and Chapter 4 and make one justiciable and the other one not justiciable. Now, human rights are all interrelated and interdependent. That is self-explanatory. It's just the same thing as being indivisible. When we talk about the rationale for human rights, why the need? Why must there be human rights? Why must this discussion hold? Then we take ourselves to the fact that we need human rights to ensure freedom, justice, and peace. Without human rights, there won't be freedom. There won't be justice, and there won't be peace. To prevent barbarous acts. Of course, we do know that there are some persons, if given the opportunity, they can do things to other human beings. You hear about people that go into human trafficking, they go into sale of human parts, and the rest of them. Those are barbarous acts. And the protection offered by human rights can inhibit this. On the basis of the provisions of human rights, such persons can be taken up. Now, we utilize human rights to prevent tyranny and oppression. Without the protection offered by human rights, you know that some leaders can be tyrannical. They can be oppressive. And we would not be here talking today. We equally use human rights to promote development and friendly relations between nations. If we don't have common standards of human rights in our national laws, no country will want to have any business with us. They wouldn't even want their people to visit us. They want to look into our laws and see if their citizens are protected. And when we are not able to show that we can protect human rights, we are equally dealing a dirty blow on development in this country, on business in this country. That's why you are needed. You are very important. The police is the representative of the government. If you are able to show that you can protect, promote human rights of everybody that is in this country, you are somehow, very importantly, ensuring that development is promoted, that business is promoted, because investors will come in, being assured that their lives are secured, that their businesses are secured. We equally need human rights to promote social progress and better standards of life. Now, what are the scope of human rights? Human rights covers different levels of life, the civil and political. Especially these civil and political are the ones that are contained in our Constitution. I would advise that every police officer should go and check Chapter 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Take it from sections 33 to 45. And you will know, you will see all those civil and political rights: right to life, right to family life, right to dignity of person, right to freedom of movement, so many, right to expression of oneself, and right to, association. There are so many. Now, and right to fair hearing. That same chapter of the Constitution talks about what an individual in this country can do when there is abuse of those rights. I am telling you this now so that you know the effect of your actions regarding the citizens. If you abuse the rights of the citizen, the Constitution, which is the ground norm of this country, has provided that these persons have right to seek remedy in any high court they wish within their jurisdiction. They will go there and apply for the enforcement of fundamental human rights. And now when that abuse comes in form of torture, I hope you know and understand what the Anti-Torture Act of 2017 says. Anti-Torture Act of 2017 says that as a police officer, as a law enforcement officer, if you should engage in torture in any form, that you should be investigated, that you should be prosecuted, and you should be punished. And that punishment gets to maximum of 25 years. And another thing is, in the course of torturing anybody, if you should kill that person, that case should be treated as murder, which means you may end up receiving capital punishment. Now, the economic and social cultural rights, that's where you have all the rights to employment, rights to health, right to shelter, and the rest of them. Now, just other rights, under development and groups, environment, but I want you to pay particular attention to the number 1 and 2, civil and political rights, economic, social, and cultural rights. Please go back to your slides that we have uploaded and look at this.